All right, welcome back to Teacher's Table Live. This is going to be a talkback session with Derek McCoy about his session at the Hive Summit, as well as anything else we want to chat about. I mean, we got a great, solid educator right here, right now, and I'm excited to begin the conversation. But before we do, a few points of business here on the channel. One, a little etiquette, and that is if you're here, please drop your name in the chat off to the side. Tell us, introduce yourself. Two, we really want this to be about answering your questions, your ideas. So if you have one, put it off to the side. But if you could put at Mr. Matera, because then it highlights it for me, and I am able to sort of more easily see that in the chat. That would be really helpful. And lastly, always be welcoming to everybody at the table. Teacher's Table is always about sort of bringing people to the table, around the table, for a really good discussion. So I know this is going to be a good discussion because I absolutely loved my discussion with Derek, and I'm excited to just extend that conversation with you. So let's get started. We got so your session, right? Like let's just say, first of all, thank you so much for adding your session to the overall Hive Summit. It was excellent.
Man, I always relish conversations, especially conversations where I'm able to connect with people, finally face to face or virtually, that I've been connected to, on online or Twitter. But yeah, that our conversation that day, that conversation was it was real special. It was energizing. Yeah, it was really what I needed, and I'm glad to hear and to respond to some of the things that people were saying about our conversation. I don't think we do enough of that, or do we go through those things intentionally enough, where we are sharing what we're doing, what we're thinking with others, so that we can help connect and they can help see some different things. So thank you for having me immensely.
It was awesome. I loved the conversation. I agree with you about it being energizing. Not only is your topic, but your personality. Like it is fun to interact. I really did enjoy it, and I got to say, from the tweets that came out from people and the Facebook things that are coming and the Instagram things that are coming, all the little things, the emails I get in on the back end of all of this, so many people had so many good things to say. And when I was sort of laying out so I record everyone, and if you notice, when I record everyone, I don't know the order. So everybody that's watching, just so you know, like I never know which order I'm gonna put it in. That's why in the video I can't say like welcome to day 2, because I don't know if this is day 2. Right. And when I had all of them done and recorded, and I was thinking through like what makes a good kickoff, what makes a good like middle sort of recharges, what makes a good end. Hands down, I was like, we're ending on the revolution, right? We're ending on let's create change, people.
Yep, man.
And for our learners and our schools and our communities. Yep. It took me a hot second to decide like we're going out on this. And
that's why we wrote it. And shout out to my co-author Darren L. Wayne. It did start off about 2 middle school principals getting together, but it just ended. But it just evolved just so naturally into we just got to do stuff different. So we're happy to share what we're doing. We're happy that it's a middle school message, but it's just a call for everybody. Start your revolution. So, yeah.
Start the revolution. I dig it. We have some people here. Carol says hello, and she says she absolutely loved your session. Kathy Sue says similarly. William Wooster points out sort of a reality. He says, afternoon, I'm starting to feel a little sad that I won't see Mr. Matera 2 to 3 times a day after tomorrow. I will say I am looking forward to a little rest and relaxation running this. It's like 8 weeks of work, and
yeah, man.
I am proud of it, but I am excited to kick my feet up a little bit.
Yeah, you're due for a break.
A little bit. Natalia from Mexico City is here. That's awesome. She says kind of a welcome and hello to you. And all right, so looking like I'm where did that go? I had it over here. Sorry, too many things open. So, kind of breaking down the session we had together. What I want to talk to you a little more about is first, where are areas you've seen the revolution already happen, right? You encourage us to start one, but you must have a kernel of experience with it, right? There must be some shining examples, and I know you're back in school. I've seen the tweets, man. I've seen the bow ties.
Yeah, we. So I'm here in North Carolina, and for the most part, well, no one is bringing all the students back. A few districts are bringing half the students back at a time, but where we are in our area, none of our students are coming back, so it's all teachers here. Um, but you know what's fun? It's coincidental that you said this. We just did some personalized PD with our teachers, and the group that I just finished, we talked about how we are embracing this as opportunity to do some things different. And we didn't use the specific terminology from the revolution, obviously, but the things that they talked about were creating more opportunities for personalized learning. So when you say we see kernels of this, I think we see kernels of personalized learning in schools, or at least the desire for more aspects of personalized learning, but really getting into it deeply and embracing that choice part. A few of us, we're dabbling into choice. So dabble is good, but let's revolutionize and get better. The student as the activist piece, that was a part that I think resonated with a couple people. You don't see real activism. You don't see real student activism. You don't see that's the part that I want to see more of. I think when we see more, especially middle school, especially 11 and 12-year-olds.
That's my specialty. That's it.
Especially, so, and again, I think we're afraid of it, but it's especially, let's think about igniting a passion for research and cause in our 11, 12-year-olds, and letting them take a topic and change the world or change their community. When we start seeing that, man, it's not just the students will have a revolutionary experience. Teachers will have phenomenal epiphanal moments about what they can do when they allow or encourage or facilitate students to really find their voice and jump from the activism to the true community leader piece. We could have, if we do this at the middle school level, Mike, we could have some real community leaders in high school. And imagine a high school voice at like your county commissioner meeting. Good Lord.
No, what I get excited about is, one of the things I absolutely love about teaching middle school is they're at this cognitive sort of space where they got some skills now. They got some abilities, but they still got that passion, that drive. And if we can nurture that, caretake that, and actually give them some empowering moments through middle school, and then hand them off to a high school that is ready and excited to take those revolutionary learners and continue to cultivate it, holy cow, that 8-year span, what would be produced? What would come from that? Right?
Could you imagine?
No,
could you imagine?
That's
Just could you imagine? Instead of our vertical talks only being about content, our new vertical talks could be about the community awareness and the community activism piece. And imagine having articulation talks like that. Oh my goodness, that'll be real change.
That would be real change, and I think part of that change. Well, I guess I want to ask you part of that change. So, what I love and why I do teach middle school is the passion piece. Is I love to have those learners who are they're fired up. They want to change the world. They feel as though they can change the world. They haven't been sort of crushed yet by the machine, right? And they still believe they can make that difference. And so I want to ask, like, what space do you feel like the passion piece is? Like, tapping into, like, who they think they can become. They're still in a state of becoming. I think sometimes there's the high school kid knows they want to become something, but it's more pragmatic. It's like, well, I know I want to go to college. I know I want to go to the military. I know I'm taking over my family's construction business, whatever the case may be. But it's more pragmatic at that point, and they feel a little more on the rails, and then they're taking action steps just to make that truth a reality, as opposed to, like, the middle schooler is still a wanderer, a dreamer, right? And I feel like you could tap into the middle schooler on that level and lay new tracks for them to sort of go off on.
Oh, I love that part, laying new tracks. So imagine rethinking what every learning expression does for some learners. So my ex-wife is an elementary educator, teacher, and assistant principal. So I spent a lot of time in elementary schools, and of course I work closely with elementary schools as a middle school principal. But I see what fourth to fifth graders, I see them developing questions.
Mm-hmm.
Just they're figuring stuff out, and they're still have some adult reliance. But as they are asking questions, imagine if we're poking that bear, if we're allowing them to prod a little bit, develop those researcher roles. We talk about revolutionaries being researchers. Imagine them developing those researcher and goal-setting awards, those goal-setting benchmarks. And then when we come to middle school, we've already talked about how we just need to release, everybody, all of us just need to release some control and funnel and work on how we facilitate and direct that passion in certain areas. And then in high school, like you're saying, we work on setting kids on their path. So college, career, post-high school, just call it post-high school. But are we still burning a passion, allowing them to burn a passion for change and activism? Those that really are set and committed to it, or even those that have an inkling of it but don't really understand what it is. So all expressions, all of us have an opportunity to open up and do some things different. And that's what we talk about in the revolution is less adult and more irking what's in that learner, inspiring what's in that learner, and bringing that up and about. So that's where we are.
I love it. Some of the community here has said that. Let's see. Kathy Sue says she loves your statement about risk, fail, learn, and being made into this is being made into a poster for her and her new teachers. She teaches kind of new teachers, right? And she then corrected herself. Actually, new learners.
Oh, I love that. And then, so imagine if we embrace the risk part. So we talk about creating a risk-free culture, a risk-averse culture where people are embracing risk. Where we really have to redefine failure, or put failure in its place, or just stop using the word failure. We're just imagine if we stopped using the word failure and we thought or acted in the mindset of we're not there yet. If we just keep going.
I mean, like, I gotta tell you, from my work, like my view, my space, I love making a risk-rich environment in which kids try, learn, fail, and like continue on that cycle. And I have to tell you, from like a game design perspective,
right.
From a game design perspective, like game research, game thought here, game theory tells us that the optimal game, if you make a game too easy, no one wants to play it. If you make a game too hard and it's impossible, no one wants to play it. So what's that right balance? the failure rate in a good game is near 80%.
Really?
That is the optimal, like, you want a bit of challenge, right? That you definitely want that. You want to have to play the level over again because it intrigues you. There's actually research on an unfinished task is more engaging. So that you actually want to fail in a game because then it chews at your mind. You're a little bit like, how could I fix that Candy Crush to make it work, right? Like there's science behind that. And then I think about school, and we really have designed a risk-averse situation because there's that penalty factor to the grade. Even if we allow redos, you're actually tasking the kid with another, like, we're going to move on and we're going to have this unit's work, but you can redo last unit's test if you want. But, like, we want to design a system in which we're encouraging them to explore, and I don't know, like, how to best do that in terms of the redos and in terms of that. Like, can we task some of that learning in the new project and just be okay with the fact that they quote unquote failed that last one, but we're gonna be moving towards growth over the whole experience,
right?
Even beyond our classrooms, right? Like, it doesn't, like, the growth doesn't just have to happen in my 6th grade class. Like, I know I'm passing them off to somebody else, and I know there's a thinking and a system built around that student for their K-12 experience and beyond.
And isn't that what learning is? Isn't that how the brain works? We often think that if they don't get the goals for that task, they're not successful with whatever goals of that task are, that they failed, and then we move on to something else. That's how school is traditionally set up, as opposed to, you know what, in order to learn this, I need some productive struggle. I need some talking it out with somebody. I need to get into a little back and forth, and then when I figure it out, oh man, wow, that was cool. And then you learned it. It's I literally 2 days ago I used the example of learning how to drive a manual
stick
transmission.
shift. I'm with you.
Shift, that's right. So by no means did anybody get in that seat, get in that driver's seat and have a smooth transition. By no means. It was only after a bunch of jerking and halting and stopping and near-death experiences that we get it, So you have to have that productive struggle part. But while you were talking, who 80% is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember a percentage from, this just shows, I guess, my age and my nerddom. Remember in Star Trek, Captain Kirk had the Kobayashi Maru test in the Academy, and nobody ever passed it. It had a 100% failure rate, and everybody had the drudgery of, well, nobody passes it. You're supposed to blah, 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 blah. But suppose we just took all the filters off of everything, redefined failure, and allowed his approach to it to be how we approach education. Change the system. He went in and reprogrammed it in order to get the results that he wanted. How many of us are being revolutionary enough to change the system? How many of us to remove all those barriers to get what learners need, not what we want, not what we think is right, but to get what learners need. So I don't think Kirk is the best Starfleet captain, but I think he got that part right. It's a lot of good stuff.
You have a lot there. Like, if we were to unpack that, you got a lot there, because one, at the tail end, you challenged us as educators to really think about what the student needs, not what I need as the teacher, not what my school district requires, but what does that child before me need in their learner sort of journey, their learner path, right?
Right.
That's pretty big. Then on the other side of your comment, you really talked about how much of us, I guess if I was to sort of rephrase it, we all sort of on some level hack the system, right? As educators, like we're made to sort of band-aid things together, duct tape things together, and make it work. And we're good at that. We're good at that. But there's something to be said about striking right at the core of the system and saying, instead of band-aiding this thing and duct taping this thing together and making it somewhat wobble, maybe we should just fix the system.
Maybe we should just fix the system. That's a great. Maybe we should just fix the system. I want to. So can I share my screen for the people to see, or can I send you a picture for you to share with everybody?
Sure. If you send it in our chat here,
okay,
I can then bring that up.
So to me, this is the best cause and reason. If we ever had a call and a reason to change the system, there it is. I think this is it. Yeah, okay, good. So to me, this is this illustration, and this is not my illustration by any means, and it's out there on the Twitter, out there on the web for any and everybody to find and get. But for no other reason to change the system, to be a revolutionary, is an equity piece, is an equity part. Did you get it?
I did. I'm trying to see how to zoom in here.
Okay. So, yeah, for no other reason to be a revolutionary is to make sure to create learning experiences and opportunities for learners, all learners, not most, all learners, to get what they need to be learners. We want students, like your person said earlier, we don't want students, we want learners, but some of our systems are set up to have students and not learners. So the revolutionary is called to correct some things.
I like this. I've seen this before, but I haven't seen it in a while. I really do dig it, and I mean, what a famous.
Are you sharing it?
Yeah, what a famous icon. Right.
Okay, good. So the first picture, the top left, this is what we see a lot. You know, we see how, to me, this epitomizes school. For the kids who have or are more likely to be successful, they're going to be on the left side of the tree, and stuff is going to come easy for them. But the kids who are struggling on the right side of the tree, they're going to struggle to get what they need. And you can see that the tree is more bare. You know, it's not as productive as the left side of the tree. So in schools, what do? We throw resources at things, at all kids. So in the top one, the equality part, that's a math teacher giving everybody a calculator. Okay. But so everybody has the same device, same calculator, but it's the tree that's still crooked. It's our expectations. It's how we deliver. The tree, his side of the tree is still bare. It's not until so even if we throw more resources at that student on that side of the tree is still bare. That's what we see in the equity part. But it is not until the fourth one, the justice part, where we are changing how the tree grows. So Michael, that's us. That's a revolutionary changing the system. That's a revolutionary saying, you know what? Forget this cognitive test. I'm going to put this student in a gifted class. Forget what the schedule says. If these students need more time, then we're going to give this student more time in whatever. You know, changing systemic practices and thinking and beliefs. So
that's exciting.
But that's the real work, right? That's the real work. That's changing how we. That's the real stuff. That's what revolutionaries get into. And when we do that, then we don't just see more equitable practices. We see students getting what they need because we have changed us and what the school delivers to students. So now we don't go into the book touches on some of this, but we don't go into it this deep. But this is something that has evolved over the last couple of months that Darren and I have talked about, and yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting, extending some of the talks from the book into these things.
Uh, how? I mean, as an administrator, I want you to give us a bit of advice to us, you know, compadres, right? That like are here in the revolution. Like call me a captain, whatever. I am willing to like go in and fix that tree as best I can. But there's a structural system in place too, right? Like I don't know about your school, but I'm assuming all districts are somewhat alike, right? You got the board, then you got like the superintendent and the vice superintendent, all these various, management pieces. You have then your building principal, maybe an assistant principal. In my school, then it even gets broken down into like there's what are called grade level coordinators that have like their meetings that then they meet with the admin. So like to create systemic change, right? I am the king of trying to create change in my classroom. This is a space I control and I can do that. How, what advice do you have to the revolutionaries when it seems like there is a bureaucratic layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer that like to create change? I don't know. How do I word this?
I think I know what you're saying. I think I know what you're saying.
Change is slow, and a revolutionary's heart beats pretty fast.
Oh my goodness! Did you? Can I? I need to write that. Need to write that down. I know this is being recorded, but I need to write that down because change is slow. Revolutionary heart beats fast. That is incredible, man. Oh my goodness. But getting back to your point, I know what you're saying. So let me share an experience that I had with you last month when I joined this school right here. Okay. So our district has an equity policy, the school board policy on equity and race, and they didn't just launch it, but we got into our admin study of it last month when I joined, last week in June, as a matter of fact. So what the presenter did, he's the other there are two middle school principals. The other middle school principal, he flashed some data up. His data was how our numbers in AP classes don't match the demographic breakdown of our school. It's not reflective of what's in our school system. And then flash some discipline data. Let me be specific. Our white students, I think it's about 45%, our district is 45% white, way overrepresented in our AP courses at the high school level. And Hispanic and Black not represented proportionately.
Sure.
Discipline, Black students account for and the Black students in our district is only about 15%. In my school, Black students are about 13%. Hispanic students are about 40%. So our discipline is mostly African American students, Black students, right? And the other students aren't, and the other students very low representation. So we saw data like that. So after that presentation, the principal says, okay, now what you're going to do? How are you going to correct that? And then the superintendent said, okay, no, seriously, do something right now. So for the revolutionaries out there, the best advice that I can give you is what moved me this summer was cold hard numbers, cold hard facts. When I saw our students who were being underrepresented, I've always felt that tests. Well, and we know some tests are culturally biased, so we know that. Why am I waiting for that culturally biased test results to determine where kids go and where? Teachers know kids. Teachers know kids better. Who needs to be here? and then what do those kids need? That's who's going to make up our advanced our high level courses here at the middle school level. Uh, who's writing up kids? We're going to reverse. We're going to do some reverse work on that piece, and um, really have some hard talks with some people about how we approach discipline and what we do, not what kids do, because we are in the
Bending that tree a little straighter. Bending that
oh,
tree.
dude. So that's the part, Michael, is bending that tree is not about throwing resources at students, and it's not about blaming kids. Straightening up that tree is is work up here for us. It's changing beliefs. So are you ready to, so revolutionaries out there, are you ready to have a talk with somebody about, start with some data, start with an observation, start with something somebody believes, and then say, okay, then we need to change what we believe and change what we do. Because actions show what we believe in, and actions show our character.
Ooh, I like that.
Actions show our character.
Yeah.
So if you know it, if you know the data, uh, what the data says, and you're not doing anything to correct it, what does that say about your character? So I know how I want to sleep at night. That is the talk that you have, and it doesn't matter your position. Anybody can run data, and anybody can say, here's the problem, here's what we should do. Anybody can say that. So do your part. Now I'm not telling anybody to quit your job, or because we all got to eat. Um, so I'm not saying quit your job or do anything very drastic like that, but your responsibility is to have that conversation. And when you talk about straightening up that tree with your person, whomever that is, um, remember you are in that tree.
Yeah.
Remember you are in that tree too. So there's work for all of us in straightening up that tree.
So I think to play on your revolutionary language, a revolution needs an ethos, an idea, and you've definitely given us that. I mean, you definitely have spoken to some of the issues that we have, like truly striking at that sort of justice of the system and changing the system. You also need revolutionaries, right? It needs to. It's not a solo act, right? And you just sort of encouraged us to have powerful and meaningful conversations and continue to keep shining that light on it. Keep pushing it.
Right.
I think it's important too that we create community around these things and support each other, so that there's a likelihood of continuing to have those conversations, right? Because
Absolutely.
You can burn out, right? If you're that only torchbearer, right? When we think about the Olympic torch, it constantly gets passed and moved around the world until it puts the final light on the Olympic Games, right? And
Right.
so, what are ways you help or have seen teachers come together on these things, build community, whether it's Twitter chats or in group building conversations? What are some advice you have to have other revolutionaries seek out other revolutionaries?
So this conversation is so timely. I'm just gonna nail on the part about finding your tribe. And in the book, in the Revolution, we talk about finding your tribe. That's important because you have to find your pushers. Um, we talk about your pushers in the book being somebody who um, take you where you are, accept you where you are, and realize that we're both going to get better. So we get better by pushing. We get better by you pushing me and me allowing you to push me. Not just you pushing me, but me allowing you to push me, and then vice versa. So number one, find your pusher. It could be the person across the hall. It absolutely could be. But the I don't want to say the issue, but there's a lot to be said about the same thinking growing up in the same environment, that kind of thing. So finding somebody outside, which is why Twitter is so powerful. Finding your PLN here, Twitter chats. I don't know if you've seen that infographic from Sylvia Duckworth where she talks about her learning after she joined her PLN, how it just significantly took off. Skyrocketed. That's right. That was me. That's when I have these talks with educators now. That's their experience as well. Is you just never know. Just connecting with somebody from 4 states away from where you are, who are thinking the exact same thing you are, and they may be further along or further behind, but it's not where you are in the race. It's just the fact that you all are on the same road. So, find your find your tribe. Use the Revolt Lab hashtag. Get concepts that way. But there are, Michael, you know this like I do. There are hundreds of hashtags for people out there for you. You can find your place. You have to want to find your place. You have to want to. You have to commit. You have to want to be different, and for things to be different for your learners. When I think when we want things to be significantly different for our learners, then we're willing to go to a different place. Twitter chats, hashtags, Facebook groups are phenomenal. Facebook groups are phenomenal. Finding a good Facebook group is right there with us, and those are some good things.
In one of my keynotes I give, what you talk about, the revolutionary learner and just the revolutionary educator too, for me, obviously, my book being titled Explore Like a Pirate, I definitely talk a lot about exploration and this thing.
Right.
But in my keynote, one of the things I differentiate between the beating heart of an explorer, there's 2 drivers of an explorer. And one is to go out and find, to go out and discover, to try new things, right? So this would fit your sort of revolutionary, put yourself out there, try things, whether that's pedagogy, whether that's a tech tool, but ultimately, hopefully you're always putting it on that lens of changing that tree, bending that tree of justice, right? The other, not often referenced, but super important piece to an explorer is they are equally driven to come back and share the good news, right? Like an explorer doesn't just go out and then stay out in the wild. The second half of exploration is coming back and telling everybody else there's this thing over here.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's a great point.
And so as we're talking about connecting and, nurturing your revolutionary spirit, part of it is when you find that thing, when you've bent that tree a little bit further and you see how it's working, and you start to see, and we're not even there yet, right? Like the picture you have here, we're not at that straight tree yet, but it can so help that revolutionary spirit to come back and share with others that, hey, we bent that tree a little bit the other day because of this lesson, because of how I had this conversation with this student, and it felt this way, and it felt this way for me, it felt this way for the student, and ooh, I'm excited to bend that tree a little more tomorrow.
There you go. And so spreading the good news, spreading the joy, spreading the success. That has to be it. It can't just be about getting out there. You're exactly right. It can't just be about getting out there. It has to be about sharing the successes and what we do. So earlier this week I shared our staff's staff picture on Twitter. So we're not gonna do like we typically do, sit in the gym, shoulder to shoulder. I
saw this picture.
Yeah, shoulder to shoulder and take a picture. All of us sent in a Bitmoji and to a couple teachers, and they worked that sucker to an inch of its life. And man, it's just a fun. Bitmojis. Your Bitmojis are gonna be happy.
I love my Bitmoji. I weigh a little less. I have less wrinkles. I mean,
that's right. Right. You don't see all this gray right
No,
here.
that might be the best version of myself.
but but when we did it, man, we were so proud, and so all of us, we were so proud. We couldn't wait to put it on social media. So yeah, we played around, we experimented, and then when we saw the success, everybody took part in celebrating what we had. So when we share what we're happy about, I can't tell you. We had several people who asked what tool we use and how, how fancy was it, and it wasn't that fancy. It was just a digital background that we just copied our Bitmojis on. But that piece is going to help staffs come up with a fun staff picture for 2020. So yeah, we got to come back and share. We got to come back and talk about our successes, because when I hear your successes, that fuels me. That gives me an idea, and I want to bring that back to my school.
I got that passing of the candle. I was raised Catholic, and there's always that sort of midnight mass. Everybody gets a little candle, and the priest lights one, and then we kind of pass it, and then all of a sudden the whole room's glowing. I sometimes think of things like blog posts, Twitter chats, anything, Facebook groups, where you're posting that idea out there. While it might seem small, like who's reading this Facebook post, like 5 people liked it or whatever, but it's not your job to necessarily light the world on fire. It's your job to be a candle and pass just that one bit to that next candle.
Michael, that is awesome.
And the room's lit up.
That is awesome. That's exactly right. You never know. You never know how your kind word is going to come back to the world. You may not see it. You won't see the end impact for the person that it made the most difference for. So yeah, it's important that for all the people here, get some good here and take it back to your school and start some change, do some things different. And you will see some movement. You will see some candles lit.
You will.
Right now this year. But we can promise you that more candles, like you're saying, that geometric proportion, more candles are going to be spread throughout the years. That's good stuff.
It's exciting, and I gotta say, that's why, I just was so excited to have you on today and on the Hive Summit in general. I really appreciate you coming and having this conversation as well as our previous one, and I truly mean it. I hope our paths can cross again.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for thinking of me, and immensely thank you for having me. I've had a great summer, but this has been a true highlight this summer. Thank you so much.
No problem. Everyone else that's catching this, pick up the book. It is awesome. Reach out to others. Reach out to Derek. We're gonna have that candle sort of light the world. We're gonna be revolutionaries together. I'm super excited. I love that language too, being a history teacher. Fantastic. Everyone, thank you so much. Derek, we have a bit of a tradition here, and we reached our goal here. We always have these little goals to show that we're here, and when we achieve them, we have a bit of a confetti party, and we achieved our goal today. So we're gonna have a 2-second here confetti party, Derek, and we got confetti dropping down, and I'm loving it. And thank you everyone for making this goal happen. As always, we couldn't do it without you, the community. I've loved the Hive Summit, love Teacher's Table. Derek, I hope you have a great rest of the day. I hope your school year is good. I'm sure we'll double back and hear from you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody.
Love to the Hive community.
Thanks. Take care, everybody.